All right, welcome everybody to Old Gray Brick. Good to have everybody here. I am lagging really bad, so I'm about to drop out. So you guys get started, and I'm going to go reset my router. I will be right back. Welcome everybody to the show. I'll be right back.
We'll just wait for him.
Just keep talking. I got to leave.
Get the intro.
Everybody.
This is our chance to talk about Chris.
Yep.
You know what I really don't like about Chris?
His internet connection.
His internet connection.
That internet.
It
Kind of
blows so bad.
Welcome to Old Gray Bricks. Usually starring Chris while he's restarting his router. There's also Sir not appearing in this video, and Dana, and Jeff VW, Mark and Steven Erickson, and Mr. and Mrs. Ant.
Hi.
Or the Banditos.
The Banditos.
The Banditos.
Yeah, but I like Mr. and Mrs. Ant. I don't know. It sounds like it's snappy.
Yeah,
That works.
Yep.
It's snappy. It's snazzy. It's got a nice ring to it. It's got a nice
You want
ring
to go 80s
That's
music? He could be Adam Ant.
Adam Ant. I don't know how I feel about the double alliteration. I sound like
Look it up. Look it up. It was a musician.
Oh, okay.
Wait. You don't know that there was a musician called Adam Ant?
I don't either.
He's far too young, Dana.
Goody Two Shoes?
That song was from like 1983, Dana.
He was minus 17 when that song came out.
Dude.
And I think
Even still, for cultural references, you should know.
Dana, that hasn't been a cultural reference since 1983.
Still,
Hard as broken.
still. I
But
mean,
they don't
What's
teach
the name of the
Adam
show again?
Song
What's
he
the
had
name of the
to play them. I mean, yeah.
my heart, wow, I'm feeling old.
You are old.
I know, but now I'm feeling. I mean, it's one thing to be old; it's another thing to feel old. And
Sure.
Adam
Okay,
has a
Bricks
very
for a
bad
reason.
habit of making me feel old. Mark and Steven never make me feel old, but Adam does. I'm just.
Wait, what?
He's not the one that brought it up.
Yeah,
I think
like,
I'm younger than Adam. At least.
Well, maybe I guess by
Right?
association,
Yeah,
it's actually
literally,
Matthew who
I
calls
think
it
I'm older
Adam.
than both the Ericksons. I don't know. I'm 30. I don't know how you old are. Mark.
27.
Just a bit, 28. So.
Yeah,
All right, but let me tell you this: Adam has actually been in the Lego community at large longer than you have because he was on the Classic Space forums.
This is true.
Ooh,
Because he probably had a
good.
computer when I
At
did not.
2.5 years old.
I really want to, like, I don't even know if there's a way to find my old posts from when I was a kid on those forums and like find out what I was doing. I probably shouldn't, but like
No, just leave it in the dim
history.
sort of.
the distant past.
You want to leave it as a fond, hazy memory.
Yes.
Yes.
I wouldn't. I think it would be enjoyable to see how awkward he was as a kid.
But Emily, you see how that is every day.
That's true.
So-
She already knows this. She already knows this.
Spoken like a
Yes.
spouse.
Well,
All right.
Do we have
So,
some show to talk about?
maybe we can talk about
Me.
the most important part of the show, like we do every week. Jeff.
Yep. Take it away, Jeff.
Let's hear it.
Oh, the fact that Canada rules? Or the spreadsheet that you need to
Season
share?
3 of Lego
Sorry,
Masters,
no.
it does.
Let's see. There it is.
There you
The most
go.
important part of the show.
There you go. Look at all that red and white.
There it
and that
is.
100% number there. Come on. What would the odds of Canada winning top 3?
You've been waiting.
Not great. But it did.
No,
There it
it's
is.
good. So, but yeah, I don't know what else there's to say. Canada won. Americans got eliminated in the previous or the first episode that aired last night. You know, it's all good. I was surprised that Brandon and Gray got eliminated, but
Jeff, I think you're glitchy.
that doesn't surprise me.
Getting a little feedback on that one.
No.
Hold on, I'll get. I'm using my. I'm using OBS because I was going to do all this all day in the stream, but I guess I won't.
There it is.
Yeah.
You're very max headroom right now.
Your face, yeah, there you go.
Whoa, I can't get to it. Oh, there.
That's better.
Canada has won many a Olympic or many a junior hockey game as well, for the record.
Not that he knows which years, but
I'm gonna kill my video and I'll go in regular, and that's probably what's slowing me down. So I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, it's probably OBS, like bogging it or something.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the final 2 episodes. Does anybody have like thoughts before we get into like critiquing the models themselves? How do you guys feel about all of it?
I'm sad that it's over. I'm sad that it's over.
Mhm.
But I'm excited because the Christmas episodes are starting.
I was more into this episode than any other episode this season. I found this season a little harder to get personally invested in than the prior seasons, but this one, I don't know if it was the scripting or the editing or what, but I just really enjoyed the final episode a lot.
I definitely enjoyed it too. I think I really, I struggled this season comparing it to previous seasons of the US show. I think this was definitely one of the weaker seasons. I mean, I always enjoy the show no matter what, but I think, it was a good finale. Builds wise, I do have like criticism, I feel like, of the final builds, but we can talk about that later. I feel like we've seen stronger final builds in my opinion, but overall it was a great episode.
Yeah,
Thanks,
agreed.
Adam.
And it was such a nice episode because we were all Canadian in it, and like we're all
There were
sorry about
so
it.
many thank yous and sorries going on. It was, it was a big cry and a kumbaya at the end.
A lot of aboots.
Oh, yeah. Emily's
And
aboots
one
were
of
like
the
all over
builds
the
was
place.
truly Canada.
Yeah.
I do wish that they had let them. I'm gonna say at the end, all the judges and stuff were all fancy. I think it would have been cool to put them in some fancy clothes if that was the spiel they were going for.
They've done that.
In some red dressy stuff and allow them to get all glitz and glammed too.
But that's what they've done every time. It's kind of like their way of saying, you may have made it this far, but we're still better than you.
Hey, Nick had a bow tie.
But Nick had a bow tie for the whole season. So,
Well, yeah.
Oh, can I mention something real quick? He was the suit guy, right? He was wearing the suit jackets for the whole season.
Yeah.
They let him take them off. They didn't let Brian take off his suit jacket ever. Not once was he allowed to
Really?
do that. Or Tyler. So I'm like, they're relaxing some stuff around here. That's nice to see. So that was, those suit jackets are super annoying, I've been told. So
yeah.
I'm happy for Nick on that one. So little nugget of info there.
I loved during during a part of one of the episodes, Dave with his big hockey jersey came up to stand between a couple of guys, and he had his jersey full of brick. You could just see his belly, and I'm like, that's what I want to be wearing because those are instant. Carry all your bricks in your shirt.
Yep.
Yeah.
I missed that.
That was awesome.
That was like, put your shirt down, Dave.
I did not miss that. In fact, I asked if we had a freeze frame of that as the Canadian bear on the show flashed some skin. I was like, this is a PG show, keep it calm. No, but those hockey jerseys are warm, and I'm assuming that when the lights are on, does it get warm with the lights, or are they fluorescent so they don't get hot?
Well, the temperature changes all the time.
Okay.
But I know
North cold ends up hot.
Yep. Temperature changes a lot in the day, and I know that the sleeves were annoying. You can actually see them pinned up a little bit sometimes. So wardrobe is always a battle.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just think about it over time. And I know you guys have said you lost weight, you guys, thing. Did you notice that in any of the contestants? Could you tell that they had physically declined through the series or anything like that?
So Nick was skinning bones. I don't know if you saw it by the end. He's not a big guy from the start, but he's clearly leaned up a little bit. In the finale, you probably had a day or two of rest before going into it, so they didn't look as red-eyed. But the makeup department does a great job disguising dark circles and fatigue on the face. But that they can't really hide the eyes. So if you look at episode 11, you see a lot of red eyes, and episode 12 and episode 11. And so that's when they're starting to really get tired. So that's when me and Steven were at our lowest points.
Oh yeah, it was episode 11. It's like the playoffs. It's always more intense than the finale, because you're just at the end of the rope. You're so exhausted, and I called it. I'm like, everyone's just going to be unraveling this whole for the Fountain Challenge. I'm like, everyone's just going to be. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the whole season. And if you see in the finale, everyone's just like, they're enjoying it, they're building it, they're reminiscing on, fun times. The other one, they're like, quick, we have to get ideas here, we got to do this. It's such a night and day change.
Were you guys having like PTSD watching this finale, thinking about your experience?
No, I was not. Personally, I don't know, Mark, if you feel the same, but I didn't get PTSD from the finale at all. It was actually, the finale was generally pretty fun, except when I tripped on that infamous cord. But no, this finales are usually really good. There's nothing to, wince over, right, Mark?
Yeah, I actually had a lot more anxiety leading up to this double episode. Like I'm thinking, I remember what it was like. But then as soon as I was watching it, I just enjoyed it. So thankfully, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying they were a lot more stressed in the second last episode, but there was also an extremely hard challenge, I think, trying to work with that hosing and stuff, right? Like.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that would have taken a big part of it.
Okay. All right. Let me just go ahead and call the first shenanigan. The hosers won the hose challenge. So, I mean, that's an unfair advantage to the American team.
We also had firefighters that were, experts in water as well. Oh, wait, they're the ones that won, weren't they? No, Nick won.
Nick and Stacy won.
Nick and Stacy won. So the
but
firefighters
I did like the
who
fact
are
that they
hosers.
did tell you about if you add a little bit of soap to the water for a water fight, that it increases the viscosity and the volume.
Look, awesome.
That was like the best moment of that whole episode.
That's true. There actually is I can't remember the chemical. I use it in science experiments and stuff, demonstrations. But yes, it makes water slipperier. Yes. So, but soap does the same thing, obviously.
Interesting.
That was awesome. All right, you guys want to get in the first builds? Let's go to the first builds of the first episode there. I know, Mark and Steven, you guys have got a jet, so we'll get through some of this here.
Yeah.
All right, really quick, Mark and Steven, you probably have maybe some inside information. How do they make these things work and all the inside, or would you have a clue?
So it's basically you've got the big basin at the bottom, and then you have a tube or even multiple tubes. They had splitters, and they were able to cut the tubes. Yep, you saw that a tiny bit. And they're sending those tubes up through their builds pretty simply, looking at Dave and Emily's build. And then that water is then finding its way back down. Here you can see Steven there. They have a pretty big pool area at the top, but it's kind of just seeping through the bricks around it. And so it's pretty rudimentary. But not everyone has a big, basin the size of a very, very large coffee table to use that pumps the water through. So that's what's unique about this challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So the challenge was apparently they had to have 2 water features, correct? Because they
had a minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum of 2. And do you think there was any other requirements? I don't remember them.
I think it's just the 2 pumps. I don't see any size restriction things hitting them at all.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick and Stacy's sandcastle was pretty low to the basin, so I think that they didn't have to go too high. But yeah.
All right. So the first one, Duckies After the Rain. Your thoughts, everyone?
I was surprised they didn't get called out on the gray under the rainbow. That it should have been blue or another color even, or not there at all. That kind of surprised me.
Oh yeah.
You're right.
Well, remember, a tan build won this. So, anyways.
Yeah,
I got some comments on that.
It's in the sky, so it should have been a blue instead of a gray.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
So, but
the rainbow is also not very curved.
Yeah.
The overall, this is it feels very steady to me. Lots of studs, lots of kind of blocky angles. But the clouds, I guess, do have some of that curving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The base of it, the pedestal itself looks pretty decent though. I mean,
Yeah.
It
And
should-
the
it
two
looks-
features,
yeah.
the sun was spinning, right?
yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
And the duck spin. Is that right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
the
They
ducks
had
are
a
going
pump
around.
going through there essentially that was spinning a sideways water wheel that was spinning the ducks around.
The
And I
base
think
of this looks very similar to the base of their castle too, with that kind of domed off thing. So they just kind of did something similar to that. It looks like.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, you got to hand it to those two guys. They threw down bricks like crazy for foundation. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize how intense it is to do that kind of brickwork. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, that's true. All right. Any more thoughts on this build here? I mean, I guess the rain coming out of it, do you think that was intended that way, or they're like, it's just going to seep out, let it seep out? I mean,
out of the rainbow or out of the base?
Out of the base.
Oh, I think that adds to it. I think there's no way around this unless you started using glue. So I think they just used it to their advantage. That being said, I think this one has some of the best use of water, in my opinion, because you can see that, like, they're using hydropower for everything, and there's not a lot of loose water splashing around everywhere at random, or it's all very deliberate. And the spinning ducks, in my opinion, is genius. So I think the play features is what got them to the top two.
And I'm just noticing the bricks in the base kind of match the fountain itself. I'm assuming that they probably put those bricks in afterwards to kind of pretty it up. But
so they had the bricks as the challenge was starting in there, and they were all gray. And then as the challenge began, they started building. It was all emptied out again, and they could work in it. And then these bricks appeared at the end, so I think they got to choose what went in there.
What colors to put in? Okay, yeah,
that
makes sense.
I will say that my one critique on this is that the rainbow, while it's obviously a rainbow, it could have been more of a rainbow shape.
Yeah.
So that's my one ding on this. That again, we're Thursday night armchair quarterbacking this and being picky.
How long did we have for this challenge again? Was it 9-10 hours?
10 hours.
10 hours.
Which is not a lot of time.
No, it's not a lot of time.
Every challenge is like, where's the time?
This is a 12-hour challenge, in my humble opinion, not a 10-hour one. So.
Yeah, all the challenges were short. They were shorter than your season, right?
We had our share of short challenges, but this one seems to be averaged more around the 10-hour number.
I got you. All right, let's move on here.
Oh,
here we go.
Oh, too soon.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's come back to this one. We'll talk about this one.
Go back to that one. Too soon.
We'll go back to that one.
Yeah, let's talk about this one. Hey, we got opinions on this.
The tan one.
Good for them, okay? Can I
Good for them. They pulled it off. They
made a tan, completely tan castle that Amy did not have anything bad to say about. So they have unlocked a new level of respect from me because everybody in season 2 was just absolutely hammered for having tan or gray. So yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. We have a.
Hey, Greg! Oh, Greg! Oh, Greg!
With the
Greg. Hey, man,
I lost so much money.
We were rooting for you.
Sorry.
You were the chosen one.
I know.
Sorry, Greg. I'm sorry.
Greg. You let America down.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Canada thanks you.
Yeah.
Jeff.
All right, Jeff. Okay. Well,
But
It could have been America through ass, and
Hey, Greg, you should be so proud of you guys' accomplishments in this season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you covered up the pipe with a sheet. That's great in your background. That's amazing. So.
I think that's probably due to his experiences on Beyond the Brick enough. They probably were like, I bet you, Brian Saviano's like, dude, can you do something about that background?
I can't. I have to. This was actually for a TV interview. I was on Boston 25, so I And the first one I did in studio, and the second one they were like, "You can Skype if you want," and I was like, yeah, I'll Skype. That sounds easier." So I didn't have to drive to Dedham, but yeah.
It looks elegant.
It works. It works. It works.
Yeah.
It's even got that
Hey,
little fold in
We
there.
gotta go.
That
So we'll
little-
see you guys.
Yep.
It was great to see you, Greg. Great to see you, everybody.
Oh,
I gotta
that's
see
right.
you,
We do have
Mark.
to leave.
Me
Oh.
too. So
Shucks.
Yeah.
Greg, I'll talk to you later, man.
Will do, Steven.
Thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of the show. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, see you.
All right, Greg. You have no more friends in here now. I'm just kidding.
Perfect. Hey, let it loose. Let's rip off the band-aids.
No. How are you? We'll get back. We just had gotten started, and we were going to actually talk about y'all's at the end there and everything. So tell us a really quick, because we kind of guessed at the parameters for the build.
Yeah.
What the requirements. Two functions with the water was one.
Yep.
Was that it, or?
Yeah, I think there was a minimum height requirement. I don't remember what it was offhand. There's a minimum height requirement, and it was at least 2 functions powered by water. I think it was the most confused any of us ever were in a challenge. And what I mean by that is, like, there's literally a point where, like, we had a break, and we, like, the 2 of the teams went to 2 of the other teams, and we're like, we're doing this, right? And the other teams were like, no, I think we're doing this other thing. And then we're like, no, I'm pretty sure they said we're doing, and so we went to challenge, and they had to try to provide some clarification for us. So that's pretty far into it. It was brutal. I mean, that I spent probably 4 hours just fiddling around with the pump and the pipes. So a little behind the scenes, the pumps that they gave us were, like, quite powerful. At full power, that thing was literally like a garden hose. And so there's like a dial on the back to help control the water flow, but you could only turn it down to about 50%. You couldn't turn it any lower than that. So if you wanted to reduce the flow of water any more, then you either had to lengthen the hose or you had to use splitters. Well, now you have, diverging water flow, right? And then the problem is, like, every time you raise the elevation, anytime you change the elevation of a hose, then the water pressure changes. So it's like, I think part of it was due to the height that we were trying to get our water to go in terms of how we were motivating the windmill. I literally spent half of that entire challenge just screwing around with that pump and hoses. So the only people that really knew what they were doing were the firefighters, who obviously deal with, like, water flow all the time. But we were trying to do something a little bit more complicated movement wise, leave it to us to over engineer a challenge. And we just got kicked in the teeth on that one. So I agree with the judge's decision to send us home. We're the worst bill in the room. I don't have any question about that. If the competition was based off of, like, points overall, well, we would have been there, but it isn't. It's based on individual challenges. So all it takes is one bad day, and we just had one bad day on the day we could afford to. So.
No, yeah, but we're ribbing and poking, but you guys were my ride or die. Actually, it was y'all and Nick and Stacey were my top 2 and everything. So
we were first
I was aware of
episode.
y'all.
First episode, I predicted Nick and Stacey and you and Brendan to be in the finals. I was really disappointed to see you guys go home. So
yeah, thanks. You weren't the only one.
It's a full season of strong builds, of Golden Brick wins, of all these challenge wins. But it was you guys made a mark. So
thank you,
because you guys early on became I hate those guys. Because they're doing so well. I hate them, and I know they're going to do well, and I just hate them for it because they're doing such an awesome job. And then watch it. I actually had to take my wife to pick her up, so I actually walked in the door as they were announcing you guys getting sent home, and I stopped in the living room and I'm like, no! And my wife's like, what's wrong with? I'm like, just send it back home.
We were screaming too. We were like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah,
Like Pikachu moments where you're just like,
Yes, done.
what?
Yeah,
I will say
for the one guy in the room is
no.
this guy. He in the center here. He was.
I did think it was cool that there was 3 Canadians going in, but you guys did not deserve to go home. Your build, if that function had worked, you would have obviously gotten in ahead of Dave and.
There was some team communication things that happened there. I mean, first of all, ironically, we finally ran into a time management issue. And, obviously you guys have been following the season. That has not been our problem. Like, time management's just not been an issue. We're really good at putting down plans, executing on those plans. Sort of ended up being like a comedy of errors for us because we were so sort of befuddled with the water at first that we had a couple of really aggressive concepts initially. And then we were just like, okay, we can't engineer these in the time. And I don't think we touched brick till like an hour and 10 minutes in. And that's a lot of time to burn in a 9-10 hour challenge. So
yeah, I was going to ask because, sometimes the way things are edited on TV, I mean, they presented it as though you were burning a lot of clock, but I thought, well, I don't know if that's really.
No, we really did. Yeah. Okay. We didn't touch brick for over an hour. And then I think, once we landed on that concept, I think part of the problem for us is we didn't sort of follow our standard. So like standard protocol is once we had a concept that we settled on, I would sit down and I would break out the entire workflow for like our primary goals, our secondary goals, and our tertiary desires. And I would break them down into time blocks, a portion between Brendan and myself. And, by the time we finally settled on the concept, we were definitely feeling the stress already of the time. And so we're just kind of like, okay, go. And then you saw that play out later. There were a few things where there wasn't clear communication between the two of us that ended up biting us in the butt. So we should have taken, 10-15 more minutes before we got started to just finish spelling out all those details like we had done every single challenge before that. But we let the pressure of the clock, being over an hour in, with the pressure of the clock, get to us a little bit. And then we're just kind of trying to play catch up the whole time. And ultimately, if we could at least have gotten, that build was wicked unfinished. It's pretty gross. But if we could have at least gotten the Poppy function working, we would have been fine. Yeah. And this is no slight on Brendan. It was a big engineering ask, but he ended up engineering it in a way that like the whole system was just too complicated and too much friction. And so it didn't work reliably. And yeah. And that was it, so.
Okay. All right. So now they played up the fact that. I'm sorry, Dana. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it was just an off. I was multitasking at the moment, and all I felt like, why do I feel like I'm at work and there's a project manager discussing something going on in the background? So, but that's the exact frame of mind you got to be in, though. Mm-hmm. Because we've seen it, especially in this season. We've seen a lot of people who fell victim to not having a plan and keeping on task. So yeah.
So how much we kind of wondered if fatigue was a big part of it. Were y'all kind of wiped out, or were y'all just befuddled by the project?
More the latter, to be honest. We actually went into that one feeling really good. At that point, we had won 4 challenges, which is tied with any other team that's won the most. Mark and Boone, 4 challenges in season 1. So, we were feeling really good going in. We actually had kind of a short day the day before. I think it was only like 12 hours or something. So we were reasonably rested. And honestly, like we all got into that challenge, and I kid you not, I think to a team, we hated it. Even though firefighters who knew how to work with water were like, this is dumb, and we were like, who came up with this, and I think even like some of their beta testing hadn't gone very well for it. And so it's just such a complicated thing to try to work with in that space. And it's a way bigger ask, in my opinion, than even like, hey, build something that rides on a bull. You're like, okay, I wouldn't normally do this with Lego, but I understand how to build things technically strong out of Lego. Like I can apply that here. Right. But then you're like, things in Lego motivated by water flow. And it wasn't just that. If that had been a lot more straightforward, like much better control of the water or something like that, that would have been easier. But like the pumps were, it's just a nightmare, right? So I spent half of the entire challenge fiddling around with the pump and hoses and not actually building Lego. So it really turned into like a hydrology challenge, not a Lego building challenge for that episode. And clearly I just wasn't up to the flow control tasks, I guess.
Gotcha. I will say, I wish they had picked a different challenge for the semifinals. Like, I really wish. And you said it perfectly in all of that. But for the semifinals, where we're weaning down the best of the best here to make it to the finale. Let's throw all of them a curveball and make this incredibly hard. Like, I just feel we saw the trailer the week before, and I was like, come on, no, you can't do this in the semifinals to these people, like, you know, and especially, you know, how exhausted everyone was. It would have been cool to see a more creative instead of a technical challenge. I feel like, you know,
it was difficult too, because we felt like from the beginning, and the way it was presented was like, oh, you're building garden fountains, and I was like, heck yeah, I'm a sculptor, let's go, right? And then they were like, you're not. And then they were like, it's more inspired by like Japanese fountains, and we're like, Japanese fountains usually just have like bamboo that goes like this, like what are you talking about? And then the idea was more along this lines of like, well, it needs to be sort of like, I don't know, think more like theme park things, but they're being motivated by water, and you're just like, what? And so, yeah, just a lot of sort of like trying to redirect and wrap. I mean, honestly, all 4 of the teams hated the challenge. Like, I think all 4 teams said goodbye to each other prior to that episode ending, because we were each convinced that we were like, it was horrible. No, guys, you don't understand. It was horrible. We were coming off episode 11, which was awesome. Like, we had a great time. Energy was super high, ton of fun. Like, probably just as far as like TV goes, episode 11 is probably the best episode of the season. Not Lego building, right? I just mean like for TV, right? And so we'd had a ton of fun, and then we come into episode 12, and then everybody's like, oh my gosh, it just kicked everyone's ass, to be honest. Like, and they were trying. There was literally a period for probably like 3 hours, like teams weren't even talking to each other. Like, everyone was just trying to survive this thing, and that's where the whole like trash talking came from. Like, that was a whole super forced bit where they were just trying to like get something going. There's literally a line that's obviously not in the edit where Will is like, man, I am dying in here. Like, this is so stale. And we're like, yeah, because this is horrible. Like, no one's having a good time at this point. Not anyone, you know. But yeah, that's just how it goes.
I will say from that bit, that was probably the funniest thing of the season, where the Canadians are then and then sorry, and the whole thing was that was hilarious. That was awesome. All right, let's get back. No, go ahead. What was that?
No, I was just saying, Dave telling me to go to HE double hockey sticks. Hilarious. And then it made the edit. And then, like, you know, Will's over there like, Dave, you got to trash talk somebody. He's just, go to heck, Greg. And everyone was like, what? And then they were like, Dave. He's like, I'm sorry. You put me on the spot. Like, that was the third thing that came to mind and the only one appropriate. And you're just like...
That's awesome. All right. So let's get back to go ahead and get through this episode. And I know it's tough, but you can give us insights here. So this is Nick and Stacy's build, which was the winner of the day. And so their water feature was the river flowing around and what was the other one? Was it the spinning thing?
The flag was
surrender flag.
The flag and the crab. That's right. The crab moving back and forth was pretty cool. What did you guys think about this?
They should have put some dark tan in because it is sand and water.
Oh,
they should have had some dark tan. We were talking before Greg jumped in. We were talking about how it was all tan, and I was going to say, but they could have used dark tan as well.
The crabs are great.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the little crab going back and forth. That was cool.
The use of shadow is really neat. Like all spaces for the corners. That's really neat because that's how Sandcastle actually would look.
Just the little critters as well, right? Like they colored it up. They made it look really good. Originally, they talked about a big wave coming in, but they obviously veered from that because, well, that would have been similar to their Shang-Chi build as well, I would think, and that probably gave them nightmares.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. Thoughts? Any more thoughts about the crabbing around?
I will say, like, from a contestant perspective, I don't think anybody realized this until, like, for me, I literally did not quite understand what the heck it was we were supposed to be doing until about 2 hours were left on the clock. And I was looking over at what Nick and Stacy were building, and I was like, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Got it.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
That aha moment.
Oh, or was it an aha or an crap?
We knew from about halfway through the challenge that we were probably going home. And when there were 2 hours left, like we knew the sun had set. That was it. So, I mean, like, obviously we were disappointed, but we were not in the least surprised.
Did you think the challenge was more mechanical than fountainy?
That's definitely what it ended up being. Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, there was a lot of technical builds this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of builds that depend on something not Lego, whether you're going to win or not, and that's unfortunate. I mean, a little trick or a little thing, whatever, but the ultimate thing needs to come down to the build, not to whether you can flow water or whatever. So, all right, the Flamingo.
I like this a lot.
This one was
cool.
Sorry,
I
go ahead.
honestly, I thought I thought they might have gotten dinged for the fact that the leg fell off toward the end there.
Flamingos only stand on one leg, though.
Greg, did that leg really fall off in the middle of their judging? Was that like
100%? Literally, they're standing there talking to Jamie and Amy, and the leg just cracks off right in the middle of their conversation. And then I'm pretty sure Jamie was like, "Oh, you lost the leg," and they were like, "Yep, sure did."
Thanks for noticing.
Was that your
redeeming moment so that you guys could make it through? Was that their build broke?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask too. Did y'all have like, hey, we may make this if it breaks? Was there a moment like that?
I'm not gonna lie, there was, yeah. When that leg came off, I was literally like, I don't know. I mean, maybe. It was a better build, so it wasn't, it certainly had like more presence. It was more eye catching. So, yeah, I didn't think that we would, but there was a little like dying. It's like, if a fire is dead and it's like just ashes, and then there's like a little breeze and you get like just a touch of a glow of a coal, and then you're like, no, it's dead. Okay.
This one was more of a sprinkler than anything, though, than a fountain, just the way it was spraying out. But I was thinking about it afterwards, and I'm guessing that the top, where the beak is, their hose was probably cramped a bit, so the water was being forced out, not in a smooth fashion, but it was being spread out. So I don't think that was purposeful necessarily, but I don't know.
The shaping of the flamingo's body is really good. I agree with Jamie that the like green on the sides is really distracting because you don't really get to see the legs unless you're like straight on. But it's nicely sculpted, at least in that body section.
I have to agree that the flamingo itself is good, but then everything else is just distracting and just takes away from it for me. So I mean, this is a close. This is for me is not a great build. But again, everybody was hating their challenge, so yeah.
I would say, having done some sculpture building the Darth Vader head, that I was impressed with the shaping when you're under deadline. So I don't know how much experience they had with doing sculpture, but I thought like under a time deadline where you can't sit down and do it digitally and get the shape just right, I thought it was pretty good.
Well, no. But it's not the flamingo that's the problem. It's the ancillary stuff that's distracting. And
yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I admired the.
Oh yeah, no. The flamingo was great.
I did think the bees were kind of an added touch, though, just that the water was spinning them really fast, so they did look agitated. Like that was kind of a cool way to get your second motion and third motion, I think, because they had a couple of things spinning. So,
and then there was that Arrested Development reference to bees, right?
That was fantastic.
I don't think anyone on set really recognized it, or maybe they did and just didn't say anything, or it was said and cut out of the edit, but it was funny.
Yeah.
I think that anybody who goes on the show who isn't trying to throw in an Arrested Development off reference is failing automatically.
Oh no, Greg.
Adam's like, gosh, I got to go back and watch Arrested Development.
I've got to go and watch Arrested Development.
Oh, you haven't seen it? It's
No,
so good.
sorry.
I mean, if there's not a Banana Shack that shows up in some episode someday, I'm really so disappointed. So disappointed.
Yes. I love that show.
All right, so let's go to the next one. And all right, so here it is. I'm
Let it
sorry,
rip,
man.
guys. You don't have to be nice because I'm here.
It looks unfinished.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it looks
mean-
like you needed an hour of detailing to get it done. So, I mean, there's your time, right?
I would love to know what it would have looked like if you had 2 more hours, because I have a feeling you would have put a lot more detail and it would have looked dramatic. I think visually it would have looked much better if you had 2 more hours. But
Yeah.
The bucket feature was really cool. I will say the bucket feature was awesome.
Yeah, well,
I really like the bucket feature.
And I think you guys had the most complex water usage, which is really neat. But yeah, I think the propellers could have used some more, and then just like the windmill.
Let's be honest, Greg. Not your best build.
Oh, merciful gracious, no! It's
Just
somebody
harsh,
burn it.
cold reality of this situation.
Somebody burn it.
I thought the mechanisms you had though were good, like the water spinning the windmill from the edges as opposed from something interior.
And the great thing about this too is that like I feel like I'm trying to think about the others, but this was the biggest movement
Yeah.
feature.
Oh, yeah.
in the room.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everyone else has the small crabs and the duck spinning, and then you have this massive thing just spinning around. Like it must have been really eye catching too, like amongst everything else.
It was fun. It was it did look kind of cool from a distance, but it's just so it's like it looks like something I would have built in a 4-hour build if you had taken away all the water stuff. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
What would you have added if you had had more time?
Okay, so we had a couple of things. First of all, the spigot wouldn't have looked like a crappy afterthought. I would have finished detailing out the windmill. I want to do like more white wood structure on the exterior of it and put some doors and windows on it. And then done proper landscaping around the base and the front area, integration between the green colors. And we actually wanted to have like some mini land scale, I can't talk, Dutch folk like dancing along the two sides of the windmill. And then of course, have the bucket and tulip rising feature functioning. If we had gotten that, then we would have been golden. Even if we hadn't gotten finished, if we could have gotten that function done. But yeah, that took a lot away from the end result without getting that finished.
So just one criticism: medium or mini land scale Dutch folk. I don't think Emily would have fit in there. Just saying.
Shut up, Canadian. Sorry.
We'll allow it. We'll allow
We'll allow it. All right. So you guys, I mean, I'm just going to go and say you guys, from what you said, you guys knew this was it even before judging. And so tell about the goodbyes. How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, it was legitimately tough. I mean, Emily kind of summed it up well at the beginning of the episode when she said, like, I just realized, we're going to say goodbye to our family members. And, I've heard that there's some closeness on on the first couple of seasons, but not like we had on season 3. I mean, we legitimately got very close as a cast. I have a WhatsApp that still does not stop. It's like all the contestants from season 3 are in there, and it is every day. It's just running. Like, you can hardly even keep up with it. So we still talk a lot. I mean, people have flown around the country to see, people have flown internationally to see each other since the show wrapped. And so at this point, right, we've been together for like 7 weeks, and we've been going through all the same stupid stuff, 15, 16, 17-hour days, getting up at 4:45 in the morning, like sitting through makeup, dealing with all these crazy twists. And then every couple of days, right, one of your friends is getting axed. And you're like, well, we're not going to see them anymore. Well, we're not going to see them anymore. And by the time that it got to the last 4 teams, and then in particular for us, because you also had episode 11 in there, we got like a whole extra week together, just those 4 teams. And so once Liam and Emily went home in 10, obviously 11 was like 2-3 days of shooting, and then 12. So we had like an extra week. And so, when that got wrapped up, and then it's like, all right, bye. It's like, here you've been at Lego Summer Camp with a bunch of good friends around this thing that you all love doing together for almost 2 months. And then also it's kind of hard too, just like from a production standpoint, when you walk off, like you're literally completely separated from everyone, the show, everything. It's basically like get your stuff, have an exit interview, and leave. And so there's that aspect too. It's just tough to deal with because it's not like you even have an opportunity to like sit down and, you know, say goodbye to everyone. And then like you have no idea what's happening after that, right? Like you've been privy to every single secret of the show up until this point. And then for us, it was literally just 13. Like there was nothing else we didn't know at that point. So it was like, the way I describe it to people is I was like, it's like getting disqualified at mile 25 of a marathon. You know, you've already done so much work to get this far, but you don't get to cross the finish line. And I'm really big on completing things that I start. That's like a huge thing for me. So for me, I think it's even a little bit extra difficult because that's not something that I can ever go back and finish, right? It's not like if I go to run a marathon and I fail the first one or something, I can be like, well, I'll run a marathon later and I'll finish it, right? It's like, that's it. So there's always going to be that unfinished thing there that it's like, yeah, you never got to cross the finish line. So yeah, definitely. You know, obviously I got choked up in the end of the episode. It was a pretty wild experience and certainly meaningful. And then I'm not going to lie, after we got exited out of the studio, Brendan and I shed a few hot tears in the parking lot. So
Greg, you should listen to Nick and I think it was Steven. No, Nick and Dave, whoever it was, Nick and Steven, I think, who are trying to encourage you to actually build the idea that you guys had for your last build. I've heard through the rumor mill.
Yeah.
You should do it.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
Oh yeah, go ahead. And that was going to be my question leading in. The segue was going to be, what have you guys talked up? Because I know everybody has to have their final build in. So what was your final build going to be?
All right. Well, I'll start by saying that my final build was something that Brendan and I had planned out for a year and a half, I think, before we actually got there. Because I think, as I told you guys before, we actually got cast on season 2. So before we even, while we were in the casting process for season 2, was when we designed our final build. Because we were, you know, we're sitting there, we're like working through all these brain problems. If we took this challenge, how would we respond? So like mental exercises. And then we're like, all right, what do we want to do for final build? And I mean, we had even planned it out. Like I had done mock-ups of it. We had pre-designed some of the characters, like all the layout was done.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the other thing I had done is I had studied all the other versions of Lego Masters that I could get my hands on to figure out like what is the DNA of the kind of builds that win the show. And so what we want to do is very much inspired by that. So our final build was going to be a large-scale knight riding a T-Rex in to save a mother hunched over her child from a pack of raptors.
Wow.
As one does.
I love it. That's
And
amazing.
If you had made that knight look a little bit like David Hasselhoff, sheer gold, just gold.
Or just made it look like Will, you know? And
Yeah, I know. If I had just had him having a birthday cake with the name Will on it, easy.
Spoilers. Spoilers.
That's
Good throwback.
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so let's look at them. Let's look at the builds for the end. And we were devastated, except for the center square. We were devastated that you guys left, that you failed America, and
Absolutely. You
So
should
now
have heard us.
we are-
We sang the national anthem. Brendan and I sang the national anthem before the start of the NASCAR episode, and we killed it. Like the studio was like,
You know all the words to "Oh Canada"? That's impressive.
America.
Somebody's feeling their oats tonight.
Yeah. He deserved it anyway. So, all right. So they
Finale
did
show.
not play up the All Canada finale, though. Did you notice that?
They probably
Yeah.
didn't want to.
Or it didn't air. I mean, it's possible they did.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm
All
really
right,
surprised
so
they didn't just cancel it in the United States. I mean,
just have a test pattern with Canada on it, and you know that kind of thing. Yeah. All right. So let's go through the builds here. The 3 teams you got your dream build to build, and so let's see what they did. Dave and Emily, the city of Kaleidoscopia. Your thoughts?
Why did this get 3rd place?
There
Yes.
you go.
yes, this was my first place. I would have voted for it.
This was much higher than third place for me. Yes.
I would put this definitely at second place, and we'll talk about why I think that the second place should not have been second place when we get to that one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, if I'm gonna, buildings, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's a landscape.
I will give them credit for doing the spinning portion of that one building, and it looked like earlier in the episode they had some technical difficulties of the side of one of their buildings because there was a really cool gradient blue pattern going on at one time.
Yes.
And then that got shelved somewhere.
It's
No, I
behind.
think that's still there. It's on the backside of the tall.
Is it on the backside? All right.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's just a problem of angle, whatever they're taking pictures of. But again, I want to see T-Rexes fighting off rabbits. I don't know.
This
Something
needs a
about-
Godzilla stomping through it to make it,
Yeah.
this,
A big character.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it needs. Yeah, it needed something more.
Like a giant centipede that
Right.
was like
Yes.
you can have all the little ones still, but like
Yeah.
a big giant eye catcher, and then you can come into those minifigs and see all the little stories.
Yeah.
But something
Yes.
that really just like catches your eye and goes, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's the twist as well. The twist which was pretty amazing, that they got to get their first Lego set. Was that a
Right.
question y'all had already been asked, Greg?
Yeah, like in a very subtle way. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. What would y'all have gotten?
Well, for me, it would have been Bull's Attack.
Don't cuss on the
Okay,
show.
with your
What would it have
knight.
been? I don't know.
Castle
That's
for
the
the
Knights,
win.
the Knights one. I know what it is.
Yeah, it's. Hold on, I don't remember. Oh, easy.
Just sling your baby around. That's all right.
Got the
That's
mini
her.
method.
That's not me. Oh my gosh.
Is that the
hold on,
one with the siege weapon?
Yep,
Yeah.
Cool.
Cedric the Bull.
it is from Cedric the Bull. So that's 6096. That's the Knights Kingdom Bull's Attack set. That's the one.
God,
So
you're
that
a
was
young
the
guy.
that was the first one. That was the first one that I bought. Now it's like $360 on eBay, but I bought it on eBay way back when I was 12 on dial-up internet. I think for like $30.
Jeez,
Wow,
how
and
old
I
were
was
you?
saying
How-
earlier that Adam made me feel old, but yeah, that does it.
right?
So, but
Youngsters?
Chris, we always have to make the comparison here. Is that for me? This would have been the Apollo, the blue moon landing set,
Mhm.
and for you, it would have been a box of bricks.
That's- it would have been Lego 400. Yeah, it's almost
Perfect. That would be perfect. You'd be
Yeah.
like, well, I can
Yeah.
incorporate this.
Yeah, it would have been
Galaxy Explorer.
all
Galaxy
sorts of
Explorer.
blue bricks in this thing. And
Let
you
me
know,
ask you guys. So with the twists, does a twist belong in the finale? This is the big
No.
question. Do
No.
you guys
I don't
feel
think
like
so.
it should've-
I think that was a horrible idea.
Yeah.
I liked the idea of the twist they did, but not for the finale.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Well-
probably the least intrusive twist they could do because they only had to use pieces. They didn't have to make like an entire like recognizable thing from that set, but it is still a twist in the finale, which is
It didn't
But-
seem like they graded the integration hardly at all. I took it in hindsight. It seemed more like here's a thank you gift to the finalists.
Yeah.
You each get, and that's how I took it because I mean the Aurora Borealis one. It's like we stuck one part on over here and we stuck another part, and that's it. That
Yeah,
was
right.
the integration, which I kind of
Yeah,
thought they would get dinged for it, but they
Yeah,
didn't
they
say
got
anything
kinda
on
screwed.
camera.
No, and as a matter of fact, they even complimented them on using the one piece each.
Well, because
So-
they managed to figure out a way to put it in, but the trans neon green canopy as a moon did not do anything for that mock. It made it look
No.
worse. Like
No.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But yeah,
Can I say one more thing about this build?
Yep.
Mhm.
So I think it is interesting. So Dave and Emily, like they proved this season that buildings are their strong suit. Their treehouse was an awesome building. They did some buildings for the golf challenge. Like they do really well with buildings. But this is definitely, it feels like a comfort zone build. It's like really good build. I definitely think it deserves second place. But something I was thinking about during the episode was buildings are great because they're repeatable. And you can put someone who's a less experienced builder on repeating a design over and over and over again to get these massive sized buildings, but you lack that complexity in that story because it's
You
the
lack
same.
the wow. Yeah, you lack the wow factor that this is missing. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, that twisted building, that's what Tyler and Amy did in their season when they built a city. They did it different, but basically that technique and everything. So
And sorry, one of the funniest things that I laughed at was during the show, Will asked Emily what she would do with $100,000, and her answer was Botox. I'm like, what? Really, her? Like, okay.
that was funny.
That was funny.
Hilarious.
All right. So anything more about this build here? It's beautiful. It looks great, but it needs something. I mean, it obviously needs something. All right. Next.
I mean, just say rockets. Come on. I know that's what you're thinking.
Yes, rockets would be amazing. All right. So this is Stephen and Steven's build. Lake Victoria or kind of Canada.
Banff, Alberta.
Louise. Lake
Louise.
Louise.
Yes,
Lake
okay, fine.
Louise.
Right
Don't
beside
blaspheme
Banff.
Canada like that.
I'm sorry. I don't know what it is.
It's a national treasure.
It is.
As are you.
It's a lake
But-
way the heck out in the middle of nowhere that almost no one has heard of who isn't from Canada.
It's
Until now.
I mean, I've been there. The reason I know this is because I grew up in Montana and we took a trip up into Canada one year with my family, and we went to Lake Louise. So I've actually been there, but you know,
I
it's
haven't.
a lake with some mountains.
He's throwing down some Canadian realness, street cred right here.
There you go.
There you go.
The Aurelia Borealis did not need orange and red in there.
Mhm.
I know they said they were adding color, but that was not where to add the color.
My thing was they look like they needed 2 more hours. Where are the peaks? And I agree with you that the Aurora Borealis should have been 3 colors maximum.
Yeah.
I think they should have gone their color in the trees and made it fall.
Yeah.
Which they did a bit. Like they've got the yellows and the greens.
Yeah,
need
but
to
they
see
could have
some oranges and
gone,
reds.
they could have taken some liberties and gone with some, some more oranges and, some browns and stuff like that.
Although it probably is mostly pine up there, pine forest.
Well, that's
'cause
probably
it's up in
true.
the mountains. But
And
anyway.
truthfully, while I will compliment them on, they threw down some brick. They showed this throughout the whole season. They could throw down brick, which was vastly impressive, the amount of brick that they were able to throw down. One of the things I would love to have seen was behind the scenes as to what's inside the structure, how they were able to get everything supported up, and what they were doing and what they were doing for that. What's that?
What?
What'd you say?
What?
Duplo, I believe was the answer he gave.
I
But
didn't
at
even
the
know
same
they had
time, though,
Duplo.
if you're gonna do a big, cool end of the world, you can build what you want to build. It's a bunch of mountains and a flat lake. It's just
and microscale.
Now the microscale isn't the problem. It's a lot of gray.
I think the
Right.
microscale worked for them in this.
I think the
case. mean,
microscale does work.
Yeah.
It's just now, granted, I'm sure that people in Canada love this and think, wow, that looks just like it had been there. This is cool. But from a showcase piece, I'm lacklustered.
This is one of my least favorite builds that they've done on the show. Actually, I think some of their previous challenge builds have been better than this.
Yeah,
or at least more interesting. The scale of this is what's really impressive. Like they laid down a lot of brick, and it's impressive. But like we were talking about, like from this picture, I feel like I can look at this wide shot for about 2 seconds, and I've seen everything I'm really interested in looking at.
Right.
It's not. It doesn't have anything that really wants me to look around at it a whole bunch.
Well, there are some landmarks in there though. I think that are famous enough for people that have been there. Like they mentioned that little shack on the side, and there's that waterfall.
But again,
never
that
been
requires you having prior
Knowledge.
knowledge to understand why the significance is there versus seeing something that you've never seen before and you're just enamored by because of the cool details that you're seeing.
Yeah.
The buildings are cool. The buildings were really cool.
Let's imagine though that instead of doing mountains, they did a classic space setup with a ton of gray in the background. Somebody could sit there and be like, "Well, there's all this gray."
No. See, but you know what?
No.
To your
Let
point.
me finish.
To your
Let me
finish.
finish.
All
Let me
right.
finish.
I'll let you finish.
And then, you know, people who know Classic Space, they were like, oh, we put this little detail in here. But only people who knew Classic Space would get the reference. So
Everybody's seen the freaking moon, dude.
I wouldn't go there.
The things that you're criticizing them for doing could very easily show up in another build.
So in the application for Lego Masters, you have to describe in your application what would you do for your big build. And I actually went through the process of describing a really cool moon or alien scenario where the background and the moonscape wasn't a moon. It was an alien planet with lots of color and things like that, where the contrast is the astronauts who come in and they're all in white and
that sounds exactly like our finale build. Dana.
See, right?
That's why neither one of you got cast.
You got to be able to take what you want to do and spin it to give it that pop. Otherwise, it's just a Rocky Mountain, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Did this one deserve third?
I think it deserved third.
I think it was third.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, to me, if I've never been to Canada, this looks like some kind of weird mesa, not a mountain. And I mean, it needs the points and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Lego Master sign is melting on it in this view. So.
It does.
I do agree with Jeff that the Aurora kind of looks like a stack of colored bricks. It doesn't really look, and I don't know if that was maybe it reads to me like that was the last thing that they built when time was getting a little short.
Yeah. Well, and they stated that they needed more color because Amy and Jamie suggested it, and that's where they decided to put it, and that was not the right place to put it.
Yeah. Well, they said though. No, go ahead, Emily. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just wish that it kind of whisked up because that's what the Aurora Borealis. That's a weird word for me. Sorry. Kind of like fades like that. So that would have been nicer instead of like, oh, there's a like height limit
flat
type of thing.
Yeah, cut off at the top.
The only other thing I could think of is, was there maybe not enough trans clear brick in the first place? And I don't know, Greg, was there a lot of trans clear brick in the brick pit?
Yeah, I think there was enough.
Okay.
I mean, they at least got access to enough to do what they did.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I remember them talking about that they were just going to put blue and green and whatever in it. So that would have been yet again the same colors in the build repeated, and that might not have been complementary. That might have made it more monotone, or there's basically three colors to this. So
yeah, it should have been like blues, greens, and yellows. I would say would probably have been the best combination you could go with. But
now, and no disrespect to these guys, in 24 hours they threw some. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But still, in my view, is third place. I would say. So. All right. To the next build. All right. This is going to be controversial because this is the winner and won them the $100,000. It's a bookcase. What do you guys think?
I think it looks good.
I actually, in my mind, when they were talking about and they were going down this path, if you were going to be trying to take everything from your childhood and your past, this was the way to do it.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, look, we all have bookshelves with stuff on them that we collect, and this is little bits of their life and their childhood and together. I think they knocked this one out of the park. And the TV and the little effect on it where it flips around and shows the
color bars.
The color bars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
the sorting trays. I mean, this whole thing just. I mean, the Etch-a-Sketch. The whole thing just says, "This is my life and my way of describing, where I came from and stuff like that." I just think it was a great concept and it was perfectly executed. I think they did a dang up job.
And they broke outside of the bookcase on many aspects, like the stuff on top, the skateboard on the side, the mice on the side, the superhero.
Yeah. I mean, while it is a bookcase in all definitions, you don't look at it as a bookcase. You look at it as a collection of things on a bookcase. So,
Did anybody catch what's on that yellow book in the second shelf? The word?
No.
They flashed it at one point in the episode. I was trying to catch it, and I never got a chance to. Yeah.
That looks like Wabam.
And what is that?
I would guess that's what it is. So Stacy's a Twitch streamer, and that's
Okay.
like part of her Twitch persona, I guess. That's like
Okay.
a word she uses all the time, and that her Twitch followers use is Wabam.
Okay.
So yeah, you heard her say it, I think, once in episode 11 in the race car episode. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's hard for me to read from this angle. But if I was just gonna posit a guess, although actually, no, I think she spells Wabam with 6 letters. So
Yeah, that looks like 5, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm really torn on this build. Conceptually, I think it's very weak, but execution-wise, it's incredible. I think their design and the techniques they used are like they're really good at these large, scale, enlarged real-life objects. I think, but I think a bookcase is just not an interest. Like I kept and again I keep comparing to the Australia show, and we were looking at the footage of this, and I looked at Emily and I was like, remember that time these two guys built like a half of a pirate ship on one of the seasons of Australia? And the scale of this, the detail is incredible. And I love the little Lego sorting bins up there. I love the characters. There's so many. I mean, I grew up in the 90s too, so this is everything that like I grew up with that I can connect with myself. But I feel like it's a lot of objects on shelves that don't really tell a singular story, and I think that's the main issue I have with this. But I'm really happy for them. Again, armchair critic here, but I feel like there have been stronger finale builds than this one,
Yeah. But on the flip side, it makes you want to keep looking at it, which was the opposite of the Lake Louise.
That is true. That is true.
You glance at it, you look over it for 2 minutes, and you feel like you've seen it and everything. This one if this were at a convention, I would lean in and look at each object and then get the story. I agree that I find a bookshelf to be really boring structurally. Like that part is, nothing interesting at all to me. It's a box with shelves,
Now, if it had been like a curio cabinet, would it have been more appealing?
Yes.
I do like the fact that the back of the bookshelf looks like wood paneling.
Yeah.
I thought that caught my eye just while we were watching it here, and I'm like, I know it's probably just the way the plates are lined up. Maybe they did put a stripe down, but I just thought that was a cool little effect.
I joked, I texted after I watched the finale, and I said, everyone who's gonna be on Lego Masters in the future is gonna suddenly start building Lego furniture, because apparently it's a winning strategy. But
I do think it's funny they put the trophy in the bottom, like a little subtle inception to the judges there.
And it's in the back because they're not sports people, probably.
The other thing that I thought was weird about this build is that they tried to play up this drama, like, would it hold together when they lifted it up? And I'm sitting there going, it's a freaking box. Yes.
It's pretty strong.
It's going to be fine. I'm like, it's not going to fall apart unless they lift it from the top. If they put their hands in the bottom, that is absolutely going to hold together.
They needed drama for the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because everybody had been so they played up how nice everybody was and nice to each other. There was no drama between the teams because they were all Canadians and friends. And thanks, Greg. And so, and
something or other, Canada, national anthem, blah blah blah.
But I mean, for me, that was the build. I think Brick Snaps has said that Armchair Quarterback built something that has never been built before, and that was the only build that really had any kind of quality of. No one's ever built a life-size on Lego Masters, a life-size build. These are to scale to humans. All the things on that, and
but I think what Martin might be alluding to is that we've seen bookshelves done.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one at Brick World Chicago that was, I mean, granted, they probably spent months working on it, that was just freaking insane details through the whole thing, makes that one look pales in comparison. But again, they had more than 24 hours to work on it. And I think that might be where Martin's saying, and his one critique being something different to make that bookshelf not look like a bargain bin basement bookshelf that you're just putting a bunch of cool stuff on. That's probably the one critique on that.
But none of the builds were something that no one's seen before.
Yeah,
So
that's
true.
That
was the one closest to it.
yeah.
And I think even, I mean, giving them the challenge or the incentive of saying build something we've never seen before is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Is a lot of pressure, because that means you've got to come up with, I mean, granted, if you've been thinking about it for time and time and time again or whatever, but still getting, you know, yeah, the dinosaurs and that would have been hysterical. But I mean,
I've never seen a knight riding a T-Rex.
Thank you very much. It would have been flipping epic. I think you.
But at the same time, though, it does move.
Flipping epic. Here, from the top.
But at the same time, though,
we've all seen that scene 1,000 times, right?
Yeah, it does make me think of a certain David Hasselhoff movie that happened in Germany. So, but again, we live in a world where, you know, you flip on the switch of any electronic and you can see anything you've never seen before. And it gets to a point in time where we're overstimulated by all these things that coming up with something unique is difficult sometimes. So,
unless you put David Hasselhoff on a dinosaur.
Just look at how Hollywood recycles sequels rather than coming up with original stories.
Or for that matter, they take something that is an awesome story and they think they know what to do better, and then they change it and make it suck. But I digress.
Well, guys, I need to call it at this point in the evening. So,
all right, one question for you, Greg. Do you think it was the correct decision? What happened? I mean, these are your friends. You don't have to bag on anybody. Do you think it was correct? What was your opinion
for the winner of the finale?
The win, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I do think it was the correct decision. Don't get me wrong. I have plenty of my own assessments of the show, our performance, and otherwise. But I do think it was the correct decision. I actually think that the judges made the correct decisions in both episodes 12 and 13, including sending us home. And I actually told Jamie and Amy as much afterwards. And I will say this. Here are my parting shots. This was really cool. I actually talked to the show producer, Pip, and I said, hey, is there any possibility we could just like chat with Jamie and Amy for a couple minutes before we leave? And Pip actually went on set and pulled them off set while they were filming and brought them over to our holding area for about 10 minutes. And we just, you know, it was really fun because you only ever interact with them like judges in this very official, like sort of untouchable status. And it was really neat just to spend a few minutes talking to them like two normal people. Because, you know, they are at the end of the day. There's like this wall the whole time. And Jamie said something to us. He said that he felt like we helped elevate the entire competition. Like teams would be looking across the room and seeing what we were building and being like, they're building what? You know? And so that was really cool. And that was fun to hear. And then he also told us, he said, I'm already preparing for the internet backlash because I have no question that this is going to be a very unpopular decision. So, but I just tried to give him a little reassurance. And I said, based on the rules of the competition, I think they all made the right decision. You know, we had the worst build in the room. We should have gone home. So anyways, it was cool. It was a wild experience. Thanks guys for letting me hop in, but I got to call it a night.
Thanks for coming on, Greg.
Absolutely.
The guy.
God, I hate that guy. Can I just
I
say
hate that guy.
I hate that guy?
And he was so gracious. Doggone it. Be a jerk about it. Come on.
I will say it's been fun talking about this show. That was one thing I said before, you know, like outside of the show, and there's criticisms that we all have about each episode and the backlash that he mentioned. But I think like the fun thing about Lego Masters that it brings all the AFOLs together, you know, online to talk about Lego and the show, and like it for me, it like reinvigorates just the hobby for me. So I mean, I said this before the show, like the season started. I was like, I'm just excited talk about Lego stuff every week about the show and everything. So
well, it's funny because when we were in Chicago and we got to meet some of the season 3 contestants, and we were fortunate for Peach Lug to be right across the aisle from all the Lego Master contestants, which was great because we got to troll Mark and Steven with Nexonites. But I actually even got the feeling after coming back from Chicago, I was like, hearing some of the stories, man, that's a bullet that we may have dodged by not trying to do that. But I'll be darned if it wasn't episode 1 or episode 2, and I'm like, maybe I should try and do this again. Maybe it's got me thinking. Maybe I want to throw my hat and try. Maybe, because you're right. Watching the show gets you excited for what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the beautiful thing about the show, is that it does increase the interest in the hobby in general.
Yeah. Makes you want to spend money on Lego, which is the real reason.
So I have a challenge for you guys. I'm gonna post it on Instagram either probably tomorrow or Saturday. It's my A-Full year, and it's all the themes that are available in 2022. And you have to go onto Bricklink and figure out all the sets you bought, and then put the numbers in each category for the themes that you bought sets in. Now you could have bought multiple quantities of sets, and that doesn't count. It's only one per, to see what your themes were and what your builders were. Just to get that fun feeling kind of thing.
How about stuff you bought for resale? Because if so, then video is going to be up there for a lot of us.
Actually, video's not on the list.
Oh, I like you.
That's cheating.
Thank you.
Video wasn't a new theme in 2022. We got clearance in 2022.
Wait, are you saying we're going to do only new themes or just total themes, or
sets that were released in 2022?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
It's going to make it look like I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, which I'm not. I just buy the set and sell them big.
Well, we should all have the highest number for most of us should all be in CMF, because each one of those is counted as one set, each pack.
So, that's not right.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, because if I list that I bought 7 figures, but they're all the same figure, well, it only counts as one because it's just one figure. But if I bought all 16 figures in each series, that's,
these rules are stacked.
Yeah. So that's just one
figure. It's also
right?
not to be gatekeeping to make people feel ashamed that they bought 700 knights when,
This is why you want to be on the show. You can handle all the shenanigans and the crappy rules, and you can just navigate right through. So
that's part of what I do for a living.
And for the record, Nick and Stacy winning this means that they didn't win $100,000. They won $136,353.50 because of the exchange rate. Now I don't know how that actually worked, but
that's hysterical and funny all at the same time.
So here's the question. If they spend all of their US dollars on Lego and cross the border, how much tax would they have to pay at the border?
They wouldn't. They would have just bought them here, probably. Unless they were in a tax-free state. I don't know how that would work. Anyway, but and just one other thought. If our Canadian broadcasting companies do not realize that we need a Canadian Lego Master after the top 3 teams being Canadian,
seriously,
there's some issues. Just saying.
Well, let's just go ahead and throw that down since you did. There are some American teams that tried out, even in this room, and didn't make it on the show, and then the Canadians dominate, and they could have their own show. The worst shenanigan.
Then the
all.
Canadians pack and open up 3 more spots for us U.S. Yankees.
Yeah, can we come to Canada and compete on your show when you have one?
There you go.
Yeah.
Probably after season 1 or 2, though, because they took season 3 before they let Canadians come to the show. So
valid point. Valid point.
So
all right. Well, this ends our the celebrity show, which will be on. Actually, it'll be on when we're on Monday. Maybe we'll just have it in the background and talk about it and everything. But honestly, I'm even more excited about that just because we got to hang out with those Lego Masters when they came into town, and that was a lot of fun. And they still owe me money.
Pictures? Does that mean we can actually now post the pictures?
I'll run that through Boone.
Somebody you know?
Yeah, let's make sure. But so anyway, the I guess the takeaways from this, the the season was great. I think the camaraderie of the teams was the most. I think the first season, even though they liked each other, they were competitors, and it came down. Boone and Tyler, they were nose to nose competitors. Massive respects between the two of them, but they're not chatting with each other today, on the thing, because it was a tie in reality, it seems like. And Tyler and them won. And then season 2, the COVID thing kept them separated most of the time. They still got along. This one, they got to hang out. If you've been watching Liz, if you follow Liz on social media, she's posting pictures. They hung out behind that hotel, and this was all over. They were having a great time together all through the season. So that helps with the camaraderie. So yeah, that's kind of awesome, building that community within the community, which is kind of what we do here and what a lot of our shows. It's all about us hanging out, goofing on each other, and having a great time around the brick. So that's awesome. So maybe season 4 will be that way, and we hope you guys make it on, and whoever else is trying out, hope you make it on. No Canadians, have you on your thing, dadgummit,
Obviously, if they want quality entertainment, no.
Oh, God.
They should go with the Americans because
Look, you invented poutine. You have Shania Twain. You've already beaten the South all over when it comes to food and country music. So stop
and
it.
Ryan
That's
Reynolds
enough.
and every Canadian movie star that's in the States these days.
Leonard Nimoy.
That guy too. Yeah, that guy.
Huge Jack.
But they film all those freaking Hallmark movies in your country, and that needs to stop. So
the movies or the filming of the movies in Canada?
Just the movies themselves.
All of it.
He's just saying that because it makes him tear up when he watches it.
Yeah, well.
In pain.
They filmed Black Panther probably in parts of Georgia, and that made me tear up. So
Well, actually, they've been filming all of the last 5 years of Marvel movies in Georgia. So
yeah, so there.
That's right. That's right. The beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the Missouri is like 10 minutes up the road from here with the power plant.
Yeah.
So which is awesome.
I actually know one of my 501st brothers who's done pictures with me and stuff like that.
James
he
Clark.
is one of the aliens in the Christmas episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
That's awesome. All right, everybody. We are way over time. We had a lot to talk about. Thank y'all for being here, everybody. Be awesome. Build awesome. Have a great, great, great holiday season. We will see you on Monday for a Messy Monday. Good night, everybody.